Welcome and salutations to another episode of Alcohol and Atrocities with your host, me, Chela.
And me, Michelle.
Your weekly AA meeting for all things true crime. Or if you've been listening to us long enough, you know it's sometimes weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. Shit happens.
Weekly, take that with a grain of salt.
Yep, all the salts. Today we're going to be continuing what we started with the Romanian Revolution. Today we're going to talk about the downfall of Nicolae Ceaușescu and all that nice
jazz.
All that jazz.
Yeah, so we're picking up exactly where you left off, which was we're starting to see a rise in protests and, the revolution happening.
Indeed. Also, for this episode, if we sound weird, it's because both of us are sick right now because our immune systems are shot to shit. But I am drinking whiskey, as always, because although Romania is known for their cognac, I didn't have time nor the energy to actually make it to the store and get the cognac, so I am drinking my default, which is whiskey.
And I'm drinking Monster because I'm still sick. In November 1989, the month that my husband would be born, the 14th Congress of the Romanian Communist Party saw Ceaușescu, then aged 71, re-elected for another 5 years as leader of the PCR. During the Congress, Nicolae made a speech denouncing the anti-communist revolutions happening throughout the rest of Eastern Europe. The following month, Nicolae's government itself collapsed after a series of violent events in Timișoara and Bucharest. Czechoslovak President Gustav Husak resigned on December 10th, 1989, which amounted to the fall of the communist regime in Czechoslovakia, leaving Nicolae's Romania as the only remaining hardline communist regime in the Warsaw Pact. So little by little, the dominoes are falling down. Then we have what happened in Timișoara. I hope I'm saying that right. Timișoara. I don't know. Hopefully I'm saying that right. On December 16th, 1989, the Hungarian minority in Timișoara held a public protest in response to an attempt by the government to evict Hungarian Reformed church pastor Laszlo Tokes. In July of that year, in an interview with Hungarian television, Tokes had criticized the regime's systemization policy and complained that Romanians did not even know their human rights. Interesting. Do you agree with that? Do you think the Romanian people just didn't know their rights?
Yeah. I feel like most of the time when you have a government that goes crazy, it's because the people that government serves don't know that they themselves have rights.
Yeah.
Like America, did you know that we can overthrow the government?
We sure can. Cough, cough. Actual cough. As Tokes described it later, the interview, which had been seen in the border areas, was then spread all over Romania, which had a quote-unquote shock effect upon the Romanians, the secret police, as well as on the people of Romania. It had an unexpected effect upon the public atmosphere in Romania. So suddenly everyone's like, we got rights?
Yeah. I find it very interesting that it was Hungary that actually was like, hey, Romania, stand up for yourself.
Right, like, y'all really gonna take this? The government then alleged that Tokes was inciting ethnic hatred at the behest of the government. His bishop removed him from his post, thereby depriving him of the right to use the apartment to which he was entitled to as a pastor, and assigned him to be a pastor in the countryside. So they just kind of kicked him out of his position. For some time, his parishioners gathered around his home to protect him from harassment and eviction. That's nice. Many passerby spontaneously joined in as it became clear that the crowd would not disperse. The mayor, Petre Mott, made remarks suggesting that he had overturned the decision to evict Tokes. Meanwhile, the crowd had grown impatient, and when Mott declined to confirm his statement against the planned eviction in writing, the crowd started to chant anti-communist slogans. Subsequently, the police and the secret police enforcers showed up on the scene. By 7:30 p.m., the protests had spread and the original calls became largely irrelevant. So that kind of happens when you have too many people on just joining in. You forget what the cause is for. Some of the protesters attempted to burn down the building that housed the district committee of the PCR. The secret police responded with tear gas and water cannons, while police beat up rioters and arrested many of them. Around 9 p.m., the rioters withdrew. They regrouped eventually around the Romanian Orthodox Cathedral and started a protest march around the city, but again, they were confronted by security forces.
Like I said before, that's insane to me that it took another country to be like, hey guys, do you know you guys have rights for like the Romanian people to like.
Well, a priest from another country.
Well, yeah, a priest from another country.
It's just like random guy just happened to make the news.
And then everybody else was like, you know what? He's fucking right. Protest.
Mm-hmm.
So the riots and protests resumed the following day, December 17th. Rioters broke into the district committee building and threw party documents, propaganda brochures, Ceaușescu's writing, and other symbols of communist power out the windows. I could just see that picture. Just whee!
Yep.
The military was sent in to control the riots because the situation was too large for the secretariat and conventional police to handle. Of course they're going to send the military. Always got to send in the military. The presence of the army in the street was an ominous sign. It meant whatever. It meant that they had received their orders from the highest level of the command chain, presumably from Ceaușescu himself. The army failed to establish order, and chaos ensued, including gunfire, fights, casualties, and burned cars. So they was just
reckless
out here, just true definition of rioting.
Mm-hmm.
Transporter Ambifu Bill Nedet, TAB, armored personnel carriers and tanks were called in after 8 p.m. from Liberty Square to the Opera. There was wild shooting, including the area of Disabal Bridge, Kalia Lipovi, and Kalia Grosculu.
Kirokului.
Who knows? We're sorry for everything that we're about to pronounce wrong.
Yeah.
Tanks, trucks, and the TABs blocked the access into the city while helicopters hovered overhead. After midnight, the protests calmed down. I wonder how calm is calm.
Right. Everyone was just like, I need a nap, guys, if we're going to continue this.
A little siesta, if you will. Colonel General Ion Komen, local party secretary Elie Mattel, or Mati, and Colonel General Stefan Gusa, chief of the Romanian General Staff, inspected the city. Some areas looked like the aftermath of a war, with destruction, rubble, and blood all over the place. I could just don't want to picture it, but I can get a mental picture.
Right.
On the morning of December 18th, the Centre was being guarded by soldiers and secret police. I don't know why we keep trying to say this word. Anyway, they were sent out in plain clothes. I also find that interesting that they always sent everybody out in plain clothes to like blend in with the crowd, and then when shit got rowdy as fuck, then these people were like,
yeah.
During all of this, if you guys are curious, Ceaușescu himself left to go visit Iran for a little bit.
Oh my God.
Yeah, leaving the duty of crushing the Timisoara revolt to his subordinates and his wife.
Oh, damn.
Fuck this shit,
Damn,
I'm
Elena, I
out.
gotta figure it out, Elena.
Mayor Mott ordered a party gathering to take place at the university with the purpose of condemning the vandalism of the previous days.
That's one way to word it.
Yeah. He also declared martial law prohibiting people from going about in groups of larger than 2. How's that even a group, though?
For real.
It's not even a group.
It's just a
Defying the
couple.
curfew, a group of 30 young men headed for the Orthodox Cathedral where they stopped and waved a Romanian flag. I don't know
Well,
why I
damn.
find that so funny. They stopped and waved the Romanian flag, which they had removed the Romanian Communist coat of arms.
Nice.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, remove the communism. Leaving a distinctive hole in a manner similar to the Hungarian Revolution of 1956. Okay, so now I can see why the dude from Hungary was like, hey,
Yeah,
stand up for your rights.
He's like, we've been through this, guys. I know.
Yeah, we know what to expect.
Right.
Expecting that they would be fired upon, they started to sing. I'm not even going to attempt to say the
No.
song in Romanian, but they started to sing Awaken the Romania, an earlier patriotic song that had been banned in 1947, but then partially co-opted by the Ceaușescu regime once he fashioned himself as a nationalist.
Oh my God, of course.
Yeah. Ethnic Hungarian protesters also chanted, I can probably say this one. Let's see. Romani veniti cu noi. Sounds right. It means Romanians come with us to convey that the protest was by and for all citizens of Romania, not an ethnic minority matter.
Mm-hmm.
So much. They were indeed fired upon. Some died and others were seriously injured, while the lucky ones were able to escape. On December 9th, yeah. On December 19th, local party functionary Radu Balan and Colonel General Stefan Gusa visited workers in the city's factories, but failed to get them to resume work. They were like, fuck this shit. We're not working. There's protests going on outside.
For real. We got rights.
Yeah. On December 20th, massive columns of workers entered the city at about 100,000 protesters.
Damn.
Occupied what is now known today as Victory Square and chanted anti-government slogans. We are the people, the army is on our side, and have no fear, Ceaușescu is falling.
Damn.
Yeah. I love it. Emil Bobu, secretary to the Central Committee, and Prime Minister Constantine
Dasculescu.
Yeah, Dasculescu. Were sent by Elena, again, because Ceaușescu was, Nicolae was in Iran. She sent him to resolve the situation. Why couldn't she just do it? Like, if you remember from the previous episode, she did all this shit to put herself in a position of power. Why not go the extra mile? Why not you go out there with your homely appearance?
With your homely appearance?
I'm just saying.
Get her right angles.
But I'm just saying, if you're that determined to have a position of power, then exert your position of power.
Exactly.
Don't be having men handle situations. Men are what got us into this mess.
Facts.
They met with a delegation of protesters and agreed to free the majority of the arrested protesters. They refused to comply with the protesters' main demands, the resignation of Nicolae.
Of course.
Of course. They'll do everything else except for that.
Mm-hmm.
The situation remained essentially unchanged. The next day, trains loaded with workers from factories in the Oltenia arrived in Timisoara. The regime was attempting to use them to repress the mass protests, but after a brief encounter, They ended up joining the protests. So they brought these people in to get them to like swerve the protest.
Yeah.
Just for them to end up joining the
like,
protest.
You know what? You onto something. I'm joining you.
Yeah, right? One of the workers explained, quote, "Yesterday, our factory boss and a party official rounded us up in the yard, handed us wooden clubs, and told us that the Hungarians and the hooligans were devastating Timisoara and that it is our duty to go there and help crush the riots. But I realized that that wasn't the truth."
Damn, they've tried to blame the Hungarians.
Upon Nicolae's return from Iran on the evening of December 20th, the situation became even more tense, and he gave the televised speech from the TV studio inside the Central Committee building, in which he spoke about the events at Timisoara in terms of they were given red flags and banners and large pictures of Nicolae, like a fucking
oh my
sporting
God.
event.
I love it. Nicolae.
Yeah. They were augmented by bystanders who were rounded up on Chela Victorii. The speech was typical of most Ceaușescu speeches over the years. Making use of the Marxist-Lenin rhetoric, he delivered a litany of achievements of the socialist revolution and Romanian multilateral developed socialist society. He blamed the Timisoara uprising on fascist agitators. However, Ceaușescu was out of touch with the people and completely misread the crowd's mood.
What an idiot.
The people remained unresponsive, and only the front row supported him with cheers and applause.
Yeah, I don't want to die
for the applause, applause, applause. I live for the applause, applause, live for the applause, applause. Oh man. About 2 minutes into the speech, some of the crowd began to cheer, boo, whistle, and yell insults at him, a reaction unthinkable for most of his rule.
Ha, you losing the crowd, my dude.
He been lost this crowd.
Been.
Workers from Bucharest power plants started chanting Timisoara, which soon picked up by others in the crowd. In response, Ceaușescu raised his right hand in hopes of silencing the crowd.
Boy, put your hand down.
That just reminds me, and if we have any listeners that went to Pleasantville High School from 2007 to 2010, you know exactly who I'm going to be talking about. It was the principal that we had when he would do his like
auditorium stuff.
Shit.
Mm-hmm.
We would we from the hood though.
Yeah.
We ain't keeping quiet. So he would raise his fingers up like in the number 2 to get us all to be quiet. So we would just like fucking do it right back at him while screaming. So it was like,
sir, you're in the hood.
That's what I picture when Ceaușescu was just like, no, I'm going to raise my right hand and everybody's going to be quiet.
I love it.
Oh my God. His tuned expression remains one of the defining moments of the end of communism in Eastern Europe.
I need to find that picture. I need to find his face when he realized the crowd did not give a fuck about him. I love it.
Oh, man. He did try to placate the crowd by offering to raise workers' salaries by 200 lei per month. It's about $19 US. It was
Jesus
a 5
Christ.
to 10% raise for a modest salary.
Jesus Christ.
We can't even get $19 now.
Mm-hmm.
And a student scholarships from 100 to 110 lei, while continuing to praise the achievements of the socialist revolution. However, a revolution was brewing right in front of his eyes.
Sure is.
As Ceaușescu was addressing the crowd from the balcony of the CC building, sudden movement came from the outskirts of the massed assembly, as did the sound of, from what various sources say, it could have either been fireworks, bombs, or guns. So everybody has a different account of what it could have possibly been. But together caused the assembly to break into chaos. But like, I get it though, because if you don't know what's going on,
yeah. Going back to
ensue.
Pleasantville, one a year in Pleasantville, we had a pep rally, and we heard what was either fireworks or guns, and we all dipped. We fucking ran out. It was chaos because you don't know. Again, we're in the hood, so
exactly.
It ended up being fireworks, but idiots.
Can never be too safe.
Facts.
Initially, the frightened crowd tried to disperse with bullhorns, then began to spread the news that the secret police was firing on the crowd and that a revolution was unfolding. This persuaded people in the assembly to join in.
Damn. Well.
So the riots just got worse thanks to this man's speech.
Yep. It did not help at all.
The rally ended up turning into a protest demonstration. The entire speech was being broadcast live nationwide.
Oh my God. The chaos.
Yeah. The absolute chaos. Censors attempted to cut the live video feed and replace it with communist propaganda songs and videos praising the Ceaușescu regime. Yeah, because part of the riots had already been broadcast, and most of the Romanian people realized that something was going on.
Yep. Everyone's sitting at home like, something's not adding up.
Yeah. Ceaușescu and his wife, as well as other officials and CPEX members, panicked. Ceaușescu's bodyguard hustled them back inside the building. Nah, you should have just left them out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's the worst that could have happened. The jeers and whistles soon erupted into a riot. The crowd took to the streets, placing the capital, like Timisoara, in turmoil. Members of the crowd spontaneously began shouting anti-Ceaușescu slogans, which spread and became chants. Down with the dictator, death to the criminal.
Oh.
We are the people, down with the dictator. Ceaușescu, who are you? A criminal. From Scornicisti. Whatever.
Where he was born. Damn, yeah. They say like, bitch, we know your hometown.
Yeah. Fuck you and the horse you rode in on.
Facts.
Protesters eventually flooded the city center area from the Piața Galanțciu. Yeah, that's too much. To the Piața Unirii, Piața Rossetti, and Piața Romana.
A bunch of plazas.
Yeah, basically. In one notable scene from the event, a young man waved a tricolor with the communist coat of arms torn out of its center.
Wow.
While perched on the statue of Miha Vitasul on Boulevard Mihail, and that word is going to be the death of me.
Kogalnichinu.
Sure. In the University Square. Many others began to emulate the younger protester and wave. Many others began to emulate the younger protesters, and waving and displaying of the Romanian flag with the communist insignia cut out quickly became widespread.
I love it. I love it.
I don't think I actually took the time out to see what the Romanian flag looked like with the communist coat of arms.
I don't know. Interesting. I might put some pictures because I'm gonna Google that.
Yeah.
So you can see the difference.
As the hours passed, many more people took to the street. Later, observers claimed that even at this point, had Ceaușescu been willing to talk, he might have been able to salvage something. But the thing is, this man didn't know how to talk.
What is he going to say? Exactly. Like, what is there to say? They didn't want him.
Exactly. Instead, he decided on force. Of course he did. Soon, the protesters, who were unarmed and unorganized, were confronted by soldiers and their tanks. The APCs, the USLA,
USLA.
Yeah. All of them.
Basically an anti-terrorist unit.
Yeah. All armed, and then, of course, the secret police who were in plain clothes. Which, again, is just... talk about having, your little plants and everything.
Yeah.
With the secret police being in plain
Also,
clothes.
I mean, I would be, like, shitting bricks as a secret police, too, because they're firing up on the crowd. I'm in plain clothes. You could think I'm a protester. That's the problem with me.
True. I never even thought of that.
Yeah.
While I was
I'd be
reading all
shitting bricks,
this.
too.
The crowd was soon being shot at from various building sides, streets, and tanks. So there was
Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah, they opened fire.
Mm-hmm.
There were many casualties, including victims who were shot, clubbed, and stabbed to death.
Oh, my God.
And crushed by armored vehicles.
Oh, my God. Yeah, sir. You lost anything you could have saved.
Yeah. One APC drove into the crowd around the Intercontinental Hotel, crushing people.
Oh, my God.
A French journalist, Jean-Louis Caldron, was killed a street near University Square. It was later named after him, as well as a high school in Timisoara, Belgium. No, Belgium. I already said that.
Belgian.
Oh, Belgian. In Timisoara, Belgian journalist Danny Hugh was shot and killed. Huh. Mad people.
So basically, they're killing journalists too.
Of course they are.
Mm-hmm.
Firefighters hit the demonstrators with powerful water cannons, and the police continued to beat and arrest people.
Chaos.
Jesus Christ. Chaos indeed, man. Protesters managed to build a defensible barricade in front of the Dunby restaurant, which stood until after midnight, but was finally torn apart by government forces' intense shooting, which continued until about 3 a.m., by which time the survivors had fled the streets. Records of the fighting that day included footage shot from helicopters that were sent to raid the area and record evidence for eventual reprisals, as well as by tourists in high towers of the centrally located Intercontinental Hotel next to the National Theater and across the street from the university.
What a mess.
Absolutely.
What a prime area to be going on. Mad tourists and shit.
Of course. You're not going to do this where you're not going to make an impact. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is likely that in the early hours of December 22nd, that the Ceaușescus made their second mistake. Instead of fleeing the city under the cover of the night, they decided to wait until morning to leave.
Stupid.
Ceaușescu must have thought that his desperate attempts to crush the protest has succeeded, because he apparently called another meeting for the next morning. However, yeah, I mean, he's in panic mode.
In his head, he's got this. He's doing good shit. No, you crazy. You should have fled.
However, before 7 a.m., his wife Elena received news that large columns of workers from mainly industrial platforms, large communist-era factories, and groups of factory concentrated into industrial zones were headed towards the city center of Bucharest to join the protest. The police barricades that were meant to block access to University Square and Palace Square provided useless.
What a hot mess.
Yes, such a hot mess. By 9:30, University Square was jammed with protesters. Security forces, both the army, the police, and everything else that we mentioned before, re-entered the area only to join with the protesters. By
Damn. You failing, my dude.
Yeah. By 10 a.m., as the radio broadcast was announcing the introduction of martial law and a ban on groups larger than 5 persons, hundreds of thousands of people were gathering for the first time.
Oh my God.
Spontaneously in central Bucharest, the previous day being that they came together at Ceaușescu's orders, Ceaușescu attempted to address the crowd from the balcony of the Central Committee of the Communist Party building, but his attempt was met with a wave of disapproval and anger.
Oh my God.
Helicopters spread manifestos, which did not reach the crowd due to the winds not being in their favor. So they're throwing out these manifestos and
they're just flying away.
Flying away. They were instructing people not to fall victim to the latest diversion attempts, but to go home instead and enjoy the Christmas feast. Fuck out of here, bro. This order, which drew unfavorable comparison to Marie Antoinette's haughty but apocryphal "let them eat cake," which further infuriated the people who did read the manifestos. Many at the time had trouble procuring basic foodstuffs, such as cooking oils.
So it's like, oh, enjoy your feast that you can't even have.
Exactly.
What the hell? I would have been so tight. I understand. So now, this is, if you haven't caught on, this is the fall of Nicolae, and it's happening very fast. On December 22nd, 1989, at about 9:30 a.m., Vasile Milea, Nicolae's Minister of Defense, died. It was reported that Milea committed suicide. However, several of his family members claimed that he was killed on Nicolae's orders. Milea was already in severe disfavor for sending troops to quell the uprising in Timisoara without ammunition. A statement by Nicolae stated that Milea had been sacked for treason and that he had committed suicide after his treason was revealed. So a little bit of a mess there. He was already in severe disfavor with Nicolae for initially sending people to Timisoara without live ammunition. He wanted them to be like fully loaded and firing upon the people. Yeah. And this guy was not having it. Rank and file soldiers believed that Milea had actually been murdered and went over virtually en masse to the revolution. So when their leader was killed, they were like, nah, we are not doing this. We are going to be on the other side. Oh, fuck. Senior commanders wrote off Nicolae as a lost cause and made no effort to keep their men loyal to the regime. This effectively ended any chance of Nicolae staying in power. So now even the military is against him.
We all know once the military turns their back on you, you're kind of fucked.
Yep. Upon Milea's death, Nicolae appointed Victor Sanculescu Minister of Defense. He accepted after a brief hesitation. However, Victor ordered the troops back to their quarters without Nicolae's knowledge, and also persuaded Nicolae to leave by helicopter, thus making him a fugitive. At the same time, angry protesters began storming the Communist Party headquarters. Victor and the soldiers under his command did not oppose them. So he appoints Victor, but Victor is playing his own side.
Yeah.
Victor is very much on his own side.
And I love that for Victor.
Yes, go Victor. Nicolae was still technically commander-in-chief of the army. So by refusing to carry out Nicolae's orders, Victor played a central role in the overthrow of the dictatorship. So he appointed his downfall, basically.
Yeah.
I had the prospect of two execution squads, Ceaușescu's and the revolutionary one, confessed Victor later on. In the afternoon, Victor, quote unquote, chose Ion Ilescu, a political group among others that were striving to power in the aftermath of recent events. So again, he was very much on his own side. He picked a side and he acted accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
Nicolae failed twice to address the crowd. Why are you still doing this?
Because he's trying to save whatever face he's got left, bruh.
So dumb. So instead, he and Elena fled into an elevator headed for the roof. A group of protesters managed to force their way into the building, overpower Nicolae's bodyguards, and make their way through his office. Before heading onto the balcony. They did not know that they were just feet from the Ceaușescus. The elevator's electricity failed just before it reached the top floor, and Nicolae's bodyguards forced it open and ushered the couple onto the roof.
My whole thing is why does everybody always try to go for the elevators?
You can't. It's always gonna fail, especially when you got riots. Somebody's, light something on fire, then the elevator stopped working. Like, you got to think of all that shit. You could have ran up the stairs, but I guess I don't know. By 11:20 a.m., Nicolae's personal pilot, Lieutenant Colonel Vasile Malutan, received orders from Lieutenant General Opruta to proceed to Palace Square to pick up the president. As he flew over Palace Square, he saw it was impossible to land there. Malutan landed his white Dauphine 203 on the terrace at 11:44. So he was like 20 minutes up there just flying. A man brandishing a white net curtain from one of the windows waved him down. I guess to be like, yeah, it's us.
Yeah.
Malutan said that then Stelica, the co-pilot, came to me and said that there were demonstrators coming to the terrace. Then the Ceaușescus came out, both practically carried by their bodyguards. They looked as if they were fainting. Shit. They looked as if they were fainting. They were white with terror. And so now they're scared, as they should be. Manea Mănescu, one of the vice presidents, and Emil Bobu were running behind them. Mănescu, Bobu, and Niago, all and other secret police officers scrambled to the 4 seats in the back. As I pulled Ceaușescu in, I saw the demonstrators running across the terrace. There wasn't enough space, and Elena Ceaușescu and I were squeezed in between the chairs and the doors. We were only supposed to carry 4 passengers. We had 6. According to Malutan, it was 12:08 when they left for Snagov. After they arrived there, Nicolae took Malutan into the presidential suite and ordered him to get 2 helicopters filled with soldiers for an armed guard, and a further Dolphin to come to Snagov. Malutan's unit commander replied on the phone, "There has been a revolution. You are on your own. Good luck." Well, so you're asked out.
Mm-hmm.
Malutan then said to Nicolae that the second motor was now warmed up and they needed to leave soon, but he could only take 4 people, not 6. Mănescu and Bobu stayed behind. Nicolae ordered Malutan to head for T2. Near T2, Malutan says he received national flights denial and had to land to not get shot down by the army. So the army's now threatening them. Holy shit. He did so in a field to the old road that led to Petsesti. Malutan then told his 4 passengers that he could do nothing more. The secret police ran into the roadside and began to flag down passing cars. 2 cars stopped, one of them driven by a forestry official and one driven by a local doctor. However, the doctor was not happy about getting involved, and after a short time of driving the Ceaușescus, faked engine trouble. A bicycle repairman then flagged down and drove them in his car to Targovesti. The repairman, Nicolae Petrosor, sounds like a dinosaur, convinced them that they could hide in an agricultural technical institute on the edge of town. When they arrived, the director there guided the Ceaușescus into a room and locked them in. They were arrested by local police at 3:30 p.m. Then, after wandering around, transported to Targovesti garrison's military compound and held captive for several days until their trial.
Oh, snappy snaps. We're getting into the creation of the tribunal and the council.
Yep. So he's fallen, guys. He's fallen. He's captured. This is it.
He's fallen and he can't get up. Life alert not on his side.
At all. Nobody. Life alert said, "Who are you?" As the new authorities heard the news of their arrest from General Andrei Kamenicki, the commander of the army unit, they began to discuss what to do with the Ceaușescus. Victor, Mr. Appointed, wanted a quick execution.
Why'd you say it like that?
Because it's just funny.
Mr. Appointed.
He got appointed and quickly was like, no. So he was just like, quick execution. As did Deputy Prime Minister Gelu Voiculescu. What a name. I
I
love
hate these
Romania.
names.
Two different reactions. Ion Ilescu, Romania's provisional president, supported holding a trial first. So this is the guy that wants to be the next governing hand. And he was like, let's give him a fair trial. But everyone else was like, fuck.
Yeah.
During the evening of December 24th, 1989, Victor sent a secret code, recourse to the method, to Kameniki, referring to the execution of the Ceaușescus. So the decision was made even before the trial, regardless of what Ion wanted. A 10-member tribunal was formed to try the case. The members of the panel were all military judges. Girl, you had one. I mean, I don't think it would have worked, but you had one chance.
I mean, and if it would have worked, I lost my shit.
Oh,
but
yeah.
We'll never know if the pleading insanity works for dictators as well.
Facts.
So the charges were published in Monitorul Oficial, Romanian official gazette. Hey, look at me pronouncing shit.
Proud of you.
The day after the execution. So I'm guessing all these little bullet points, that's everything they were tried for?
Yep.
Genocide, over 60,000 victims. Subversion of state power by organizing armed actions against the people and state of power. Offense of destruction of public property by destroying and damaging buildings, explosions in cities, etc., etc. Ever since I watched Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, that's how I say it.
I love it.
Undermining national economy. What? How do you undermine the national economy?
I don't know. I thought he did good, but whatever.
Trying to flee the country using over 1 billion deposited in foreign banks.
I mean, as you can see, it's kind of all a farce. They just picked whatever worst things they can come up with. Yeah. I mean, he did shitty shit. Absolutely.
Right.
But were those the shitty shits? Maybe not.
Accusing them of capital crimes instead of defending them. So their lawyers were like, let's jump ship.
Right.
No proof was presented for their crimes and tried solely on hearsay to criminal acts they had committed in the opinion of prosecutors or as alleged in press reports. Various irregularities Thank you. Irregularities presented themselves or became apparent post-trial. Suspects were not examined psychiatrically, which was mandatory by law. The suspects could not choose their own lawyers. An accusation of genocide was never proven. 4 top Ceaușescu aides later admitted complicity in genocide in 1990. Pro TV stated that there were 860 people killed after the December 22nd, 1989, when the dictatorial couple was no longer in charge. So, okay. All right.
So basically the quote-unquote genocide that they admitted to was already after them.
Right. Another source gives the figure of 306 people killed between December 17th to the 22nd of 1989. The court did not attempt to find and prove the truth. There was no file of evidence presented to the court. They doesn't matter. They were going to kill them anyway.
That's basically what they're saying. Like, all these things were wrong, and they were found out later on.
The Ceaușescus were accused of having 1 billion in foreign bank accounts. No such accounts have ever been found. The judge's verdict allowed for appealing to a higher court. The Ceaușescus were executed a few minutes after the verdict, rendering that provision moot. The person who signed the decree for organizing the court coup leader,
Ion Ilescu.
That looks like Ion to me.
Well, that's how we would pronounce it.
Yeah. So Ion Ilescu lacked legal power to do so. The order was handwritten in a lavatory in the Romanian Ministry of Defense. So they wrote
in the
it in the
whole ass
bathroom.
bathroom. Yep.
Yeah. Romanian law prohibited carrying out the death sentence less than 10 days after a guilty verdict to allow time by the defendant's lawyers to file an appeal. And after the Ceaușescu's execution, the death penalty was abolished in Romania on the 7th of January in 1990. The coup leaders said that execution of the Ceaușescus was necessary to stop terrorists from attacking the new political order. No terrorists or terrorist cells were found to have been active in Romania. A newer insight of prosecution of crimes against humanity claims that the new regime orchestrated a psychosis of terrorism through diversionary actions. Initially, Ion did not wish to carry out the executions immediately. He instead favored a formal trial to be carried out several weeks later. Victor Stăculescu, same shit.
The appointed
insisted on the couple's hasty execution as imperative for the Romanian army, supporting the newly created National Salvation Front. After a few hours of debating his option, Elescu agreed with Victor and signed the decree for organizing the courts.
Victor was a menace to society in this.
Oh, absolutely.
So now we're down to the end, the execution.
The actual execution.
Yeah. The Ceaușescus were executed at 4 p.m. that Christmas Day at a military base outside Bucharest. The execution was carried out by a firing squad, your favorite, consisting of paratroop regime soldiers. Captain Ionel Boru, Sergeant Major Georgian Octavian, and Doran Mirian Serlan. Okay, guys. While reportedly hundreds of others volunteered. Sorry, that's great. Before the execution, Nicolae declared, "We could have been shot without having this masquerade."
So, real quick, right?
Mm-hmm.
We forgot to talk about Elena's side of everything.
Oh, shit, you're right.
Just as a brief thing before we get deeper into the execution, because I think this is kind of funny, because obviously we know she did flee with her husband, you know, in the events of everything that was happening in Timisoara. So we know that they got caught together or whatever, but it's funny how she acted during the trial. At the show trial that took place, she answered only a few questions as her husband took a protective role. Nicolae would ask her repeatedly to calm down, and he would shake his head each time she opened her mouth. We actually watched the video.
Yeah.
Of this little trial that they had. And
she was fiery.
She had a lot to say. No merit to what she was saying. She had a lot to say. I just wanted to add that in there, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. The Ceaușescu's hands were tied by 4 soldiers before the execution. Simon Sebag Montefiore wrote that before the sentences were carried out, Elena screamed, "You sons of bitches!"
See?
She was not going quietly into the dawn.
Absolutely not.
As she was led outside and lined up against the wall, while Nicolae Ceaușescu sang the Internationale. And his final words were, "Long live the Socialist Republic of Romania. History will revenge me." I don't know about that.
No,
it really won't.
Here we are. We're not revenging you.
The firing squad began shooting as soon as the 2 were in position against the wall. The execution happened too quickly for the television crew assigned to the trial and death sentence to videotape in full. Only the last rounds of shots were filmed. In 2014, retired Captain Boru told a reporter from the Guardian newspaper that he believed the shots he fired from his rifle were solely responsible for the deaths of both the Ceaușescus. Because of the 3 soldiers in the firing squad, he was the only one who remembered to switch his rifle to fire automatically. And at least one member of the group hesitated to shoot for several seconds. In 1990, a member of the National Salvation Front reported that 120 bullets were found in the couple's bodies. That's insane. That's so much. Prime Minister Petre Roman told French television that the execution was carried out quickly due to rumors that loyalists would attempt to rescue the couple. I don't know about loyalists.
Right.
On March 1st, 1990, Colonel Gika Popa, fun name, who presided over the trial, was promoted to general, was found dead in his office. His death was ruled a suicide. Maybe guilt, who knows? In December 2018, Ion, the former deputy prime minister, Gelu Voiculescu, former Romanian Air Force Chief Iosif Rus, and former National Salvation Front Council member Emil Dumitrescu were indicted by Romanian military prosecutors for crimes against humanities for the deaths that occurred during the Romanian Revolution. So in 2018, they were like, y'all kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
Really late. Most of which took place after Nicolae was overthrown, so they couldn't blame it on him. The indictment also made reference to the conviction and execution of the Ceaușescu after a mockery of a trial, quote unquote. After the execution, the bodies were covered in canvas and their corpses were taken to Bucharest and buried in Ghencea Cemetery on December 25th, 1989. The bodies were exhumed for identification and reburied in 2010. Groups of Ceaușescu supporters visit to place flowers on his grave, with large numbers of pensioners gathering on January 26th, Nicolae's birthday. So in all, people still are like, he wasn't that bad.
Oh, yeah, no, to this day, if you talk to a lot of Romanian people who grew up during everything that we talked about, at the end of the day, they'll tell you, yeah, he did bad things, but he wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Which I find
interesting. And unfortunately, for a lot of that has happened since, some things got better, some things got significantly worse.
Right.
So it's kind of like it was a price to pay regardless.
Yeah. But a little fun fact also about Elena, she was 73 years old when they were murdered, and she was the only woman to be executed by the modern state of Romania.
Wow.
Yep.
And the last to be murdered.
Yep.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Indeed. But
it's been a ride, guys.
we thank you guys for coming on to this journey with us to Romania to learn about that, because I feel as though, like, since some, if not most of the people who do listen to us were born and raised in the United States, we don't really hear about, like, these other countries that also have done bad things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they mostly focus on World War II over here and, like,
pretty
Vietnam. But so thank you for coming along this little journey with us. And we're on YouTube now. You can hear us on YouTube. Eventually, you'll be able to see us when we get over the fact that we look like two bowls of mashed potatoes.
Little potato.
But as always, let us know what you guys want to hear about. We're all here for the alcohol. I mean, the atrocities. Mostly the alcohol, obviously.
Mostly the alcohol.
So yeah, let us know if you're listening from a different country and you guys want us to talk about something horrendous and atrocious that happened in your country. Shoot us an email. You can find us on Alcohol and Atrocities. Alcohol and Atrocities podcast at gmail.com.
Yeah. Yep.
You can find us on Facebook at Alcohol and Atrocities. You can find us on Twitter at, what is the Twitter handle?
Alcohol Atrocity.
Yeah, because Twitter don't be giving us all the characters. If you know us in real life, just come up to us like people have done to me numerous times at work and just tell me who you want to hear about.
Yeah.
Eventually we will.
I love it.
We will get back into the swing of doing true crime, but we also want to talk about historical true crime.
Right. We like all of this stuff. Again, this is something that we just enjoy doing, and now we're doing it with a platform so you guys enjoy our conversations with us.
Exactly. Feel as though that you're a part of the conversation.
Yes, exactly.
And also, if you are on YouTube listening to us, like and subscribe. We can finally say that. Anywhere else, please give us a 5-star review. It actually really does help us. It makes us actually want to continue to do these episodes because, guys, sometimes it be getting hard. And we're just like,
mentally ill, guys.
we'll just be like, well, fuck it, we won't come out with an episode this week because who's really listening to us? And then like I'm at work and people are like, hey, so what happened to the next episode that was supposed to come out on Tuesday?
Suddenly our engines are revving again. Like, okay, hold on.
Yeah. So, yeah. And that's all for today. As always, keep your assholes tight. We will talk to you when we talk to you. Bye.